cool.
All right, camera's on you too, so so say hello if you want.
Hello.
And,
where's the camera? Oh, right there. Okay.
And sorry. And you're rolling here on the podcast as well, so
I want to share.
Oh yeah.
Oh, there,
Yep,
there I am.
Wow.
All right. Cool. All right, cool.
I think next time what I'll have you do is you can log in here, so it'll show up on your feed. I tagged you, so it'll show up there anyways.
All right, cool.
But
all right,
yeah,
there we go.
Here, I'll put it up here so you guys can see it. So yeah, I'm not. I'm just gonna make sure everything's recording. Okay.
Everything's working. It's all about you.
Yeah,
Oh God.
Occasionally, whatever you're talking about, I may put it up on here just so you have a visual.
I don't think I want to watch myself.
No,
That's okay. Everybody else does though, so don't worry.
Okay.
You don't have to. We may get comments, so that's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Do you not want to see?
I really don't even want to see
Okay.
myself.
But whatever you talk about, I may refer to it on here.
Okay.
If you have a visual, if you want to refer to it, you can. If not, no problem.
All right, cool.
You guys sound great. So.
All right. Boom. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Totally Local, a podcast all about the lovely local Jersey Shore and all its wonderful entrepreneurs and characters and people. I love this area. I moved away. I was just telling Ming how I moved away to New Mexico for 10 years, and I came back. And, I guess I just like to talk, and I'm social, so I meet a lot of interesting people. I work with interesting people. And I just thought this would be a really good platform to kind of dig into, the local area. And today we will be talking with Diana Marie. She is she just gets it done. She does restaurant consulting. She does wedding consulting, events. And I met Diana through, I did a wedding. Well, I did a wedding. I got married at the complex in Asbury Park, and coincidentally, my now wife knew you through the yoga community.
Yes.
And it just so happened we had like a super low budget, and they never did a wedding there.
No.
And coincidentally, they hired you to go in and just improve. The business was good. And you just kind of went into, they were new and it was growing really fast.
Yeah, they went from Little Bond Street that everyone knows in Asbury Park to this massive 2 restaurants and a basement bar.
Yeah.
So
when we went in there, we wanted to get, obviously wanted to get married there, and you just happened to be working there as a consultant, and they just had you stay on to help us with our wedding. And from working with you just get stuff done.
Yeah, but you're also a very easy bride and groom couple.
That's true. That's true. We kind of just basically, I don't know.
You just said, "Here you go, Diana. Have fun."
So, what was it like? When you came in there, when you started working at the complex and working with everybody in there. I mean, what is your normal way to start working with a business like that? Do you just kind of sneak in with like a little mustache and like a hat on, all like incognito, and take notes? Or, what was the process like at that specific?
If I'm going to get hired, most likely the staff knows that I'm coming in, so I can't sneak in anymore. Before I get hired, and if it's a place that I want to work, yes, I will
take notes.
No hat, no mustache, but yes, I will take notes and I'll go in and be like a secret shopper. When I go in, I basically just watch. The first 2 weeks are all about observation. You want to see how everyone works together, how the managers are, what processes or things that they have in place. And it's all really just about watching. I don't really get very hands-on until after 2 weeks. After those 2 weeks, I always have a sit-down with either the general manager, the owner, whoever ended up hiring me, and then we go over things and we develop a plan and what we can do to improve from there.
And, I mean, you got your start. You were interested in events and restaurants and just the whole...
At a very young age.
Yeah. You snuck into the business you were 14.
I think I discovered the other day I might have been 12. And
No
I worked
way.
for a caterer.
And
I had braces. I wasn't allowed to smile. And if anyone asked me how old I was, I had to say I was, I think, 16.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. I haven't,
Yeah. It was like very...
So what do you think, like, at that age, up until now, it's just, this is what I find interesting is when I was in kindergarten and people were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And they'd make us draw on a big piece of paper. I never knew, and I never knew what I wanted to do, which is basically I just like to talk. So I'm glad I'm doing this podcast now because, I'm just talking. But like I never knew what I wanted to do. And I always found it interesting that some people are just like, they wake up and they're just like, this is what I want to do.
I just wanted to be in charge. Let me just say that. That's really what I wanted to do. And then I just fell in love with the hospitality industry. I really enjoy watching things come from nothing into something. And I love the feeling when like a restaurant opens being like, I just spent 60 hours a week, more than 60 hours a week, like my whole past year of my life focusing on this, and then it comes in and then the guests are happy, the staff's making money, like you improve people's lives. It's just I started to realize all of that at a young age, so then I started directing my life that way.
That's so cool. And that's kind of why I started working with you too, is I love working with passionate people or motivated people. And after, you helping us tremendously just organize everything with the wedding, I was just like, she's like a boss. You just came in, and it wasn't like you're not mean about it, and you're not like trying to put anyone down. You're
just very direct.
You're just very direct, and it was like people are like when you had us introduce ourselves to the staff and everybody, you had everyone's attention. And they were like, listening to you because I got the feeling that they knew that you knew what you were talking about. And I was just like, wow, like that's crazy. Like I've used to DJ. If the chance arises, maybe I'll do it again. I love to put events together, but the idea of coming up with the creative side of making a flyer and then having the end result be like, that would be great to have that. All the stuff in between, though, it really freaks me out. And it seems like that it doesn't freak you out.
No, I don't. It does not even a thought.
You just go through,
I just do it.
You just do it. And in the process of doing it, since that young age, you haven't really drifted. You worked as an electrician at one point.
Yes, I did.
Hello,
Father.
So, but besides that, like after you mastered the electrical game, you came back into doing this. So you've kind of just always done this.
Yeah. Anyone who works in restaurants, they know how hard the work is. They also know it's a good skill set. I bartended when I was in Greece because I needed money when I was backpacking. You could take those skills and do it anywhere.
Yeah.
So it's just always good if you're like in between careers or you don't really know what you want to do. It's good, quick, easy money. Used to be all cash. I think restaurants are getting away from that now and giving full paychecks to people, but it was quick and easy, and I liked it.
And you could just pick it up kind of anywhere and just do it.
Yeah, you just have to learn the place's systems.
You have to learn the systems, and you also have to be good at it. It's I go to local restaurants and stuff, and I'm not the type of person to really complain as much. But if I go to a bar and I don't have somebody, I understand if it's busy, but if that bartender doesn't acknowledge the fact that I walk through the door and I'm sitting at the bar,
I turn around and leave.
It's really frustrating. And there's skills that, mad respect, mad props to, everybody in the hospitality industry, because when you're good at it, you're kind of like, it's like that favorite band that you like to go see. Like I have my favorite bartenders. Epic shouts to Taka. Epic shouts to Todd over at Taka. He is like, I followed him.
Todd.
Yeah, Todd. I followed him from where he was before, and when he left that bar and went to Taka, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to Taka too, because he's good at it.
But that's what restaurants, managers, owners need to realize about their staff and bartending staff. Being a manager of restaurants myself, people will follow me just to talk to me. They want to know what's going on in my life. Like, people need to realize that in that industry, you're not just selling food and drinks, you're selling personalities and yourself. And it's like a show. I call it a dance. When you watch a restaurant that's super busy and the servers are helping each other, if someone drops a fork, there's someone behind them to pick it up, and it turns into this flow and a dance, and it is the best thing for me to watch. I love that feeling so much.
I don't know if I did it as much before I met you, but now I start to watch stuff, and I get a little irritated sometimes when you see things not in that dance, when people aren't flowing. And when you're working with a restaurant and you have to deal with this wait staff, I mean, do you find that people are intimidated by, like, when you come in and like, hey, we're going to fix this and make this business more money, you got to listen to Diana now because she's going to come in and tell you what to do. Does the wait staff get all like uppity?
It depends. It depends on the support that I have there. If I go into a place and even the managers fear me, it's not good because they all start talking. They'll start coming up with basically lies and stories of what they think is going to happen that nothing's even happened yet. So a lot of resistance is normally in 2 months. It takes me 2 months to break through all of that resistance sometimes. Everyone's fearful of their job. I'm not there to hurt anyone or make anyone get fired. People only fire themselves.
Is that what you tell them when you walk in? You're like, you're only going to be firing yourself if you don't listen to me.
No. Not like that.
Okay. All right.
But
good.
kind of, yes, because you have to motivate people by money. In the hospitality industry, especially in the restaurant industry, they want more money.
Yeah.
So if I can help them be better at their job, and if I have developed systems over time that will work for them, then they should just listen to me.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you're not going to make more money. So that's not my problem.
Yeah, and I mean
Like,
the proof is in the pudding. You've worked with restaurants, especially in this local area. And you've from what we've discussed, you've saved them like thousands of dollars on a monthly basis. That I would imagine that a lot of restaurants out there, there's that old saying, or I don't know how true it is, but like most new restaurants like fail within the first year or whatever. And
60% of them.
That's like crazy. And to go into a situation like that, be putting all your money into it for you're passionate about it, you want to make money, and not have these certain systems in place that are gonna make this money for you, and then on a monthly basis to not be like keeping track of that. I mean, that's scary. Like, do you find that a lot of restaurant owners, they're not chefs. They go into the business. Like, what motivates people to open up a restaurant when they don't know? The
restaurants that seem to do well are ones that people have been working in them. I love the Grand Tavern.
Shout outs.
Yeah.
Grand Tavern.
I mean, you want good service, you want good food, interesting things, menu constantly changing, great atmosphere. Like, they just nail it for me. It's the most comfortable place for me to sit at a bar because I don't go into work mode. Everything around me is always perfect, so my brain gets to relax.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was a chef who opened his own restaurant. The general manager, his partner, like, they know exactly what they're doing. So the restaurants, again, I'm just getting into this, but that seemed to be more on the failing edge, are people with just money who's like, oh, I have this money, I want to invest in a restaurant. I love this guy's food, let's make him the chef. This general manager has a great resume, which we all know people BS their way through resumes sometimes.
Yeah. No,
they hire them, and then they BS their way through the job. They hide that, like, the owners don't realize that this money is getting hidden. Like, it goes, there's different levels that I've discovered as I start getting into these places. So
kind of like what we were talking about before with the wait staff, it's, as far as wait staff not making or losing money through the wait staff, it's just basically through them not giving good service. And then you've talked about too where people don't realize that if the wait staff is like not doing it maliciously, maybe they're doing it thoughtlessly, where they're throwing stuff away, throwing away cloth napkins.
Oh yeah, forks, knives, spoons. It's insane. They make garbage cans that have magnet things on them.
Oh.
So if you're gonna throw them away, they
see, and that's why Diana knows what she's doing, because she knows about the magnet trash cans.
And those wobble wedges.
Yeah. Oh, don't even get me started with the wobble wedges. We'll get into that in a little bit, but. These are things that I don't think maybe restaurants don't even consider the fact that we had 2,000 forks at the beginning of the week. We got 2 left. Like, what's going on?
I mean, you also have to price things based on waste, and all of those little things you have to think about. Like, there's some points, and I've worked with executive chefs where we keep track of every little thing that gets thrown away, like to be put on scales before he tosses the meat chunks in, because you order however many pounds of fresh seafood. They have to come in. You have to clean it. You can't use it all. So
Yeah.
like we just kept track of it
Wow.
for months to figure out, okay, this is how much we're losing on this, and it has to start getting incorporated into the cost of food.
Yeah, you have to start looking at what you're
Yeah.
getting in and making sure that you're, you know, you've mentioned this before where, you know, people order, you know, cases and cases of beer, and then you get the order in, and if you don't check what you got in,
Yeah, people everyone takes advantage of everyone in this world. I'm sorry to say that.
it's cold. It's a cold world out there, people.
But it happens. So liquor reps, liquor companies, delivery drivers,
Yeah, you don't know who it's going to be,
Yeah,
but you have to keep track of
you
it.
have to check in every little thing. It could be, like you said, hundreds of cases of things, and you have to sit there and go like through everything. I opened a restaurant, I had to open every single box, every single chair, look at every single table, because the minute they leave, I can't go back and be like, this is scratched.
Yeah.
This was broken. You missed this. Like, it has to all get done there, and I will make those drivers stand there until it's done.
And that's kind of what I noticed too at our wedding. You know, the thing that I noticed first and foremost is that we had no want for anything. It was just all done. And it was so efficient. Like, it was just all like, oh, that's all set. Oh, that's all good. We didn't have to worry about any of that. And I think that's kind of where you came in, is you're looking at these details that, you know, maybe some people aren't going to think of. I know that I wouldn't, I don't have the proclivity or the type of personality maybe to open a restaurant, because I would just be cowering in fear in my office, locking the door, because there'd be so much going on. And that's obviously not somebody that should open a restaurant. That's why I will never have a restaurant, sad to say. But you're checking all these details, because all these little things, you know, aren't necessarily little things. They're going to add up to all, you know, bigger and bigger stuff. Do you find that when you got out of school, you moved up to Manhattan? You lived in New York?
I lived in Hoboken. Yeah.
And then you worked in New York
In Manhattan, yes.
for an event. It was an event planning business.
It was a catering and special event planning company. So it was based in Soho, huge building, basement level. They had an organic farm in upstate New York. They had a full kitchen. So it was cool because we got to meet the clients upstairs, do the whole thing, and then walk downstairs and talk to the executive chefs and create the menus all right there. It was similar to if I do it at a restaurant.
Yeah.
I did it for your wedding, but it was a lot of experience in a
Yeah,
short
and
amount of time.
it's New York. It's a little faster paced. And do you find that
Much
work?
faster.
Do you feel that you know, as far as that experience goes, do you think that led to a lot of the little details, paying attention to that stuff? Obviously, you've been doing that since you were 12, but working in that fast-paced environment.
In the scale that I worked on, yes. Because as I've mentioned, I've planned like $9 million events with thousands of people. So when they get that big and you're in charge of them, the level of I mean, I was 23.
Man,
24.
So
the level of detail and the people, like, you have to know how to command a room, and it was just a lot. And I learned a lot, and it made me be like, wow, I can do this. Like, this is what I want. This is really, like, I'm happy I chose this. This is what I want to focus on and what I want to do.
That's great. I mean, and then going from, was it at a certain point, you know, you just kind of missed this area? You didn't want to be in New York? Or what kind of drew you back to Asbury Park?
I love it here. I mean, just like you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
I grew up here. I went to school in Baltimore. Everyone hates on Jersey. We're from Jersey. We have the biggest Jersey pride. I mean, we really do, I think, out of every state. I just love it. I'm an outdoors girl. I love the beach. I grew up going to 7th Ave in Belmar every day. So it's great. And then Asbury, I moved there for the first time, I guess, like almost 10 years ago. So to be able to watch the city change and to be part of it.
Yeah. It grew so in those 10 years. It's crazy.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud to be part of it. I'm proud to know everyone that's there.
Yeah.
It's
a part of that too. It's funny because you have the people that were OG Asbury Park residents. They were. I have friends that live down there that were dealing with their houses getting shot and like it not being what it is. People don't realize that that it's changed so tremendously.
Even just 10 years ago.
Yeah. And it's funny because I see people. People like to complain. What can you say? But it's interesting to have some people be like, oh, like how it was, what it was, when it was, whatever, and not realize that it's great to have all these restaurants opening, all these different businesses opening in Asbury Park because it's bringing in jobs, it's bringing in money to a place that really didn't, 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago, there was like a porn theater like right in the middle of...
Which would still be awesome to have.
As long as it is a little more upscale, it was a little run down last time I saw it, but it's changed so much, and it's cool to know that there's people like you that you're not just coming in randomly swooping in, like you're part of this area, you love it, and you can see that, have that pride in the fact that you worked with these businesses to improve them and make them stand out, and then kind of stand back and look at it and be like, I helped that, I helped make that, work, basically.
It's just providing jobs, livelihoods, people can take care of their families. I've ran into bussers that have furthered their career from when I hired them, I don't know, however many years ago, and thanked me for being like, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I've done this, and I've done this, and now I got married and have a kid, and I'm like, yeah.
Do you pull people, like, if there's a waitress, a waiter, a busser, whatever, do you pull them aside and be like, dude, tuck your shirt in, bro? Or like, do you like give them those?
Of course I do.
do you pull them aside? And like, I can't imagine. There's a certain personality that if you did that, I guess there's a certain personality where if you did that and they got mad, they shouldn't even be a waiter in the first place.
No, I think I know that I'm difficult. I expect perfection from what I'm told. I have to say from what I'm told because it just comes naturally to me. So I know that I've heard from my staff, and a lot of them and I were friends throughout the years, that they know that I'm difficult. They know exactly what I expect. So they would just say, if we do exactly what you expect, we knew you were going to leave us alone. And I'm like, that's great. It's like kids. Like, you have to please your parents.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do everything just to please you, and then you let us work. So that's kind of what it evolved into, but you just have to get to know my personality. Like, I'm direct with it. Tuck in your shirt, you look like a mess. Like, I just say it as I'm walking by doing 8 million other things because that's the least of my worries, and you should know your shirt should be tucked in.
Do you find that there's a lot of, like, because obviously you're involved in the area, do a lot of restaurants open up and have a consultant, or do a lot of restaurants open up thinking that they can just do it? Like, when do they contact you? Is it when? I can't imagine it's when they're doing the best. It's got to be when they need help.
When they need help, yeah. I mean, it could be from when they're opening to the place I was just at. It's been there for 20 years. And they were like, we've needed help this long. I've prolonged it this long. Let's get somebody in here. I don't think anyone would ever contact me unless they had a problem, unless they were like, I thought they knew what they were doing and now they don't, kind of thing. So, and it's nothing against the people that work there. What it is, sometimes the scale is just too big.
Yeah.
And you have to have someone that comes in that just has a system. That's all that it is.
And because you've worked with people, at the complex, you came in, you worked with the people that were there. Those people are still there working. You just kind of came in and just gave them a pep talk, coached them, organized it, put everything in line. Yeah. And it wasn't like you were in there it's not like the beginning of Roadhouse where, Patrick Swayze just walks in and he just fires everybody, You go in there and you work with them.
That's my goal is to work with everyone. Yeah. And if you're going to be in this industry and if you're going to decide, yes, I want to be a general manager, yes, I want to be a restaurant manager, it's your life. Yeah. So there's a passion behind it. And if you aren't passionate about it, you're not going to be good at your job. You shouldn't be doing it.
Do you find too, since we're in this Jersey Shore, I wish there was a different word because Jersey Shore just reminds me of the MTV show, and I wish we could just take it back. Yeah, exactly. But do you find that there is, in this Jersey Shore area, it's seasonal, right? Like, are all restaurants in this area seasonal because it's a shore, beachy kind of thing going on?
I think with Asbury Park, it's starting to change over. I think we'll see in the next few years that it won't be as seasonal because of all the permanent residents that are there now, all of the expensive high rises that they're going to put in. I'm sure we're going to get people from all over the place. Yes, seasonal, but you have to develop ways to get through the winter seasons.
How do you?
Because what happens is the staff, you always want to hire seasonal staff. So if I'm going to interview you and it's January, February, March, April-ish time, and I want to make sure, I just want to let you know, this is a seasonal position. In September, I may have to let you go. You should say that to staff because you don't want them to expect, in October when everything plummets, I'm still going to have a job. So you have your main staff, and then you just do seasonal, which is what I'm sure people are going to start gearing up pretty soon in Asbury for that, because the pool is so...
Yeah, if I wanted to be, if I want to rock my waiter game and going into the summer, when and how should I put my resume together, and when should I start dropping it off now for the summer?
I would. I had a wedding meeting yesterday, and I was overhearing the managers talking about the resumes they've gotten, what their skill sets were, where they could use them. Is it smart to bring them in now to start training them, and then eventually they'll fill this void? So it's really right after the holidays, because you have to plan.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good to know for college. Especially college kids. That's what I would do. I come home for the summer and I'd have to get a job. Going. Shout outs to Molly Pitcher. I was a bellboy. I had a little bow tie. I was good at my job too.
Did you wear one of those hats?
No, everyone asked me that. There was a vest, but no hat. I had a nice green vest. I like the hotel side of hospitality because, it's more talking and I don't have to carry food that's going to fall potentially out of my hands. But, I would be ready. I would be consistent. Every year when I came back, I would contact them at a certain point. I'd put the beer bong down and be like, all right, I gotta call Molly Pitcher and see if I could still work there. But it's interesting to know. We're in January. And it's competitive, so I guess it makes sense to be there as early as possible to get it going.
And if you're not in college and you're looking for the position, you have to beat the college kids. You have to get there before May, before they get there and flood. And I would say by the time May comes, it's just the last.
Yeah.
And I would also say for the most part they'll overstaff because they need to weed out the bad ones.
Yeah, definitely.
So if you're looking for summer work, know that you're one of many and you'll probably get hired and you need to perform properly.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say to if a restaurant knows the summer gets in here, we're going to make a boatload of money, but what would you recommend to restaurants in this area in the off season? What can they do, or what do you suggest that restaurants do to make it a little less of a not good season?
You have to reimagine your space. One of my friends said that it's I helped her do that. So you have to reimagine it. If you never wanted to do a game night, maybe doing that, because it's the crowd. You have to think of the people that come to your restaurant, what they would like to do. That sip and paint thing is huge now, which I was told about years ago when I laughed at, so sorry about that. But
sorry, restaurants.
Just you have to reimagine it. You really have to focus on who your customer base is, what your clientele is, and then what you can do to get people in. Doing price fixed menus always helps, especially with locals. In the summertime, some locals don't even really go out. I know a lot of people will avoid Asbury Park because of how crowded it gets. So you want to take care of your locals in the winter because they're the ones who are giving you money, or giving you the business. So
that's cool.
You really just have to reimagine your space. I can't really give you specifics.
Yeah, no. If you want any specifics, contact Diana by DianaMarie.com. What was your Instagram again?
HBIC Diana Marie.
Yeah. So could we talk about weddings just for a little bit?
Sure.
I
just had that meeting yesterday, so we could talk about that.
Yeah, you showed me those pictures. They were beautiful.
Yes. A shout out to AP Greenery.
What's up, Zach? How's it going?
Yeah.
How did the meeting go yesterday? Did you do you find that you have to focus on the couple, or do you find that it's more about the bride? Or I know me and Lauren were a bad example because we were like, we trust you, just do it. And you're
You
like,
guys
you have to.
were awesome.
It's like, you have to make a decision, guys. We're like, yeah. Like, no, which one? It's like, okay, cool, just do it. Like you were. It was kind of the
That's like
opposite.
almost word for word what you guys would do to me.
This place is great. It's like, no, we haven't done anything in here yet. We're gonna put, yeah, okay, cool. But it looked great. I loved it. You know, I know Lauren loved it. So like, when you're dealing with, I guess we were not the typical, you know, bride and groom, but is it something where you have to focus on the bride?
For the most part, yes. I haven't worked with a groom yet who's like gung-ho, all in. They will always give their 2 cents, and like if they had to cave to something that their soon-to-be wife wanted, then they'll like put their foot down on something that they want. So that's always fun for me.
Do you find the in-laws, like, do they play a part? Do you let them play a part, or you just karate chop them out of the room and just deal with the bride and groom?
I prefer not to let the in-laws play a part, but they will always play a part. I like a lot of weddings, a lot of people, it turns political. It turns into, let me please my parents. I'm more of a, what do you want? I want to make your dream day come true. Let's avoid everyone else. And then I'll have meetings with them. And then you can bring me the other people and I'll listen to their opinions. And I'll try to incorporate it so everyone's happy. But my main focus is the bride and groom.
And they have to start. I mean, everyone, if any not newlyweds, if anyone out there is thinking about getting married, popping a question, planning anything, I mean, you have to start with the budget, right?
Always.
And don't get crazy.
Don't get crazy. I like to pride myself on not asking for more money or needing it. I get like super happy when I find things within people's budgets and give them their dream.
You just did that. You were telling me yesterday that they had a budget, and you nailed it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What, like as
I was
you
given more
do?
money, and I was like, I'm not going to use it.
That's
I can
crazy.
do it. Yeah.
They must have been stoked. They'd be like,
Yeah.
we get the money back, and it's like,
Yeah.
you can hold on to that. Is it just through, you know, just being creative, having a lot of contacts? You know, obviously, you know Zach over at AP Greenery, so you guys kind of have a rapport and you could work together.
He's also a great designer too, so I bounce tons of ideas off of him. Yeah, he's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
So like when you're going into a wedding, you have the budget set up, and then what's the next step? Does it come down to just the venue, or where you want to? What's the next step after the budget?
I have to get a feel for them and what they want. Like my initial conversations will be like, tell me your dream, and then give me your budget, and then I'll just start figuring out how I can make all that work, and then I'll present venues and things. Like I've taken brides all over the place because they didn't mind where they were going, and they wanted more of like a rustic feel, so we ended up in New Hope at some places, and like everywhere that fit within their budget. And then I'll take them to places that they think they want to get married, but they don't realize that they need like $1 million to do that, so they could see, okay, now let's take this idea and let's scale it back down and figure how we could do it somewhere else.
Is that part of it too? Do you have to literally get in a car with the client and drive them?
Which is awesome because it's however long it takes to get there. It's a whole conversation, and it doesn't have to be anything about their wedding. It's about me getting to know their personalities.
Is it the same kind of thing with restaurants where you could walk into a place and be like, you know, I know where the good stuff is and I could see where the trouble lies? Is that just part of reading people? Like if you're dealing with a bride and groom, has there been times where you've like met with people and then slowly just backed out of the room, closed the door, got in your car and drove away because like you knew that it was going to be scary? Or is it something where you can actually handle any situation?
I think I can handle any situation.
I like to hear that. That's good to know. I feel like you would be good in a zombie apocalypse. I feel like you have like a checklist or something for that already written out.
No,
I
told myself I was going to handcuff myself to my husband because I think he would be good at it, and I was like, I don't want you to leave me.
I could see you having like a plan, you know, having a clipboard. The zombies are outside, and you're like, all right, this is what we're going to do, guys.
Clipboard, a headpiece.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but you know, as far as the weddings too, is there any like? Is there popular cheesy stuff now and then popular or things that you think that should be popular or trends that are big, things that you've seen that are actually like, hey, people should be doing this, like, after the reception, like, stuff like that?
I think that weddings are starting to get scaled back with our generation, and I'm hoping that with the younger generations it does as well. It's a lot of money to spend.
It's ridiculous. I mean, we spent
your day was great.
Everything went off without a hitch, but it's like, wow, it's like
a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
And the wedding that I'm planning now is minuscule of what I had with you. So the way that I'm looking at it is you can still get these grand things that you want for a very small price. You just have to not be so specific. Yes, I must have those roses there. Like that cost $8 a stem. Or you can get these that cost $3 a stem. Look similar, and nobody's going to know the difference, and they're going to die in 2 days.
Yeah.
So it's like...
And you explain that to people, and they're usually like 9 times out of 9, like, okay, this is going to save us money. It looks the same.
Yeah, and it just, little things. Trending stuff now is all that rustic look, industrial look. I call it the Asbury look.
Yeah. Ours was definitely an Asbury look.
Oh yeah.
The wedding
and
you're
I
working
played
on,
with it, and I got all the serving pieces to match the place, and now the complex has all that stuff, and it's beautiful. And anytime they do an event like that,
the next wedding, this one you're working on is going to be at the complex too. We shout out again to the complex. We were the first people to get married. And when people go in there on a regular, like, Friday, they'll be like, you guys got married
with
here.
like shoulder-to-shoulder drunk people. Yeah.
But when it was,
there you are.
Oh, beautiful. It was like you transformed the space. I think me and Lauren stepped in there and we're like, I could see this working, not knowing exactly what that means.
Well, I had many walkthroughs with Lauren. I don't even know if you were there.
I don't even know if I was there.
Just going over it with her again and again and again, because she would say to me, I know that you can see it. I just want you to
make me see it.
Like, keep going through it. Yeah.
Is there anything that as far as like having the food trucks after, or anything cool like that you've seen that people could consider doing? Or...
I've seen some pretty cool bars in like old vans, like old Volkswagen vans, and other random old cars that people have turned into like bars and food trucks. Like, those are just cool things that you could throw in after. Yeah.
And how you find that stuff? There's like wedding conventions and stuff, or do you just
There's wedding shows everywhere. They're a good place to go, even if the food trucks and all those, they don't like to do weddings or don't prefer doing weddings. They'll always be part of them. So they're always good to go to get the information.
Right on.
And like you, I can talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And so I just try to start making relationships quickly. So when I call them, I'm like, hey, you remember me, Diana?
Do you find that
Super tall, blonde. Like, that's what I...
Do you find that your reputation precedes you, where you're working with these restaurants and the wait staff, like you were saying, you've met bussers that progressed in their career, and it's a relatively small area. It's like, I mean, even how you were reintroduced to Lauren through Bond Street. It's like, oh, I know her through yoga, yada yada yada. Do you find that like you've worked with bussers, wait staff, and then you'll see them you'll see them at other places that you're talking with?
I mean, I've hired people as food runners who became a server, then we developed them into bartenders, and they could literally be like a beverage director now, because they got so into it, and they smoke all their own bourbons and do these things where they just needed a summer job. I have a testimonial that someone wrote that I loved, and I was very thankful for it. That's how I hired him, and he worked his way up, and he has appreciation for the industry, he says, because of me. So that is a great feel. It's just a great feeling.
And that's part of it too, is it's a lot of networking and knowing who you could trust. Like, it was great to be able to I went out. I haven't been out in a while because I'm a nerd, but I went out on Friday, and we went to Bond Street. I got a grilled cheese there. Shout out to the grilled cheese at Bond Street, because it's like $3, and you just need
the best thing ever.
And you just need to eat something that's there. We were on the Bond Street, the proper bar side. It's good to go in there and hang out, because it always gets super. If you're younger than me and want to go get crazy with the kids, you go in the basement where everybody's at. But we went from there, where obviously the bartender, you know, well, maybe not obviously, but the bartender was like, oh, you got married here. Like, he remembered me, and that's cool to
Was it
know.
Mike?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then from there, I went to Watermark, and the same thing. Like, I used to DJ there, and I know, you know, the owner, and I know the bartenders there, the wait staff, and it's you appreciate the fact that when you go somewhere, somebody like is like, oh, hey, how's it going? Remembers you, like knows that you're, you know, there, and I think that's part of. You have to have that social, networky kind of personality to even be in the game as far as that. Yeah, exactly. You know, as far as Asbury Park goes and where it's kind of headed, you know, do you? I think it's going to expand north up Main Street. Do you think that like people say they're like, we need different stores, you know, there's a lot of restaurants. Do you think that there's room for more bars and restaurants in Asbury Park at this point? Or is it going to be a progressive kind of, you know, beyond that Cookman area all the way up? You know, there's a lot right now.
There's a lot. In the wintertime, it's difficult for the restaurants because it's a lot of competition. In the summertime, I was just having this conversation yesterday. In the summertime, it's easier because if you're not local and you're just there for however many days, you just go from one restaurant to the next. You read the menu. If there's a wait, you don't want to stay, you go to the next one. In the winter, it's competition. Like, and it doesn't matter if they serve completely different food than you. It's still your competition because the pool is so much smaller when the restaurants. Yeah.
There's a lot of, you know, slim.
They need to put some business. This is my opinion. They need more businesses. They need more foot traffic. They need people who want to go out for lunch, like law offices, doctors' offices, things like that, to keep these restaurants going. Like, a lot of them will shut down for a month or shut down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and they're only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it really, eventually, over time, I think the city is going to grow to the point where everything's thriving, everything's fine, but it's difficult in the winter for them right now.
It's so funny. Like, my dad, my father-in-law will be like, Asbury Park, what are you doing hanging out? Like, it's done. And I'm like, no, it's.
When's the last time you've been
there?
Yeah,
like, I'm like, just drive through it. You know, it's funny because I was having this conversation with my dad, and I'm like, Dad, we're sitting in Brando's right now. Like, we're in Asbury Park. This is part of it. Like, you drive around. Like, the value of the houses has gone up. There's more businesses here. Money from New York is being invested in this town. It's like happening. Do you find, or, you know, not to single anybody out, but have you seen restaurants that even in the summer, like, they should be getting at least the fallout, and they're not even getting business, and it's like, why aren't these restaurants that it's the summer, everywhere's packed, and this place has,
I mean, there's places where I'm like, oh, I didn't know that was there. When did that open? And then I'm like, how did I not know this?
How can restaurants avoid that happening?
I mean, you have to market yourself and get yourself out there. Asbury's a community. They help each other. I don't see why there can't be more cross-marketing even in between the restaurants. Like, I think Cardinal does a great job. So shout out to Cardinal. With getting chefs in and doing like pop-up dinners and things like that. If you can, chefs can go anywhere and do pop-up dinners. They don't have to do them just in your restaurant. So if there's you could work with another company, it could be in another town. You can do that kind of stuff.
Do like a pop-up where, you know, you find a different space, or do like something where it's off hours in their restaurant? Like, how would a pop-up?
Well, Cardinal does it because Cardinal is breakfast and lunch, and then they do pop-up dinners. They did one for Modine, which is at 601 Madison right now. It's the new restaurant in town, and it's like Southern. I don't really know much about it, so like I don't really want to say. I don't want people to like take me.
It's
for
the
my
owners
word.
of Tallulah's
Correct,
open that. Yeah,
it's like Southern comfort food. I had a few appetizers, delicious, nothing bad to say. But they did a pop-up dinner, I think, like 2 weeks before they opened. I think my parents went to it. That's how I knew about it, but Cardinal promoted it, so it's like all cross promotion, and Cardinal has nothing to do with Tallulah's. So
do they promote it like in like the Tri-City News, like newspapers? Like, how do you get the word out to let people know?
I mean, yes, in the newspapers. Instagram is a tool, and like almost everyone has it, everyone's on it.
And it's like free. It's like if restaurants aren't doing it,
and you could pay for a few bucks for the advertisements, and then it goes everywhere.
And I've obviously done it, and it's amazing. Like I've even done it when I was DJing, and I had people show up. I had this one table of people like going nuts, and I'm like, you know, where are you guys from? Because they came up to talk to me, and they're like, oh, we saw it on Facebook, and it was because I targeted a certain audience that I like certain music. They actually saw it, so it does work.
Yeah,
you can
social
bring people
media
in.
marketing is like.
If restaurants aren't doing that, it's such a. It seems kind of simple where you have a restaurant. You're making a new special, just take a picture of it, and then boom, you're done. It's like
think of all. I wish I could say I'm not a millennial, but I think I fall into that category, even though I don't. I'm not that good with that stuff. But think of all like the 16-year-olds, 17, like what they do on their phones, and probably know way more than we do about the social media. They all work in the restaurants.
Yeah,
make them do it.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, like use your staff to.
Yeah.
Wow. See,
so servers get paid like $2.13 an hour because they get tips.
Yeah.
Give them $5. Okay, here you go, $5 an hour.
Boom.
Make sure you post 4 things this week. Make sure like when during your shifts, like. And they know the hashtag game. They know everything.
Wow. So wow. It's like you have a little marketing team
right there
at your disposal.
Yeah.
Wow. See, that's why people got to work with Diana Marie right there.
Hashtag wobble wedges.
Oh, we got to talk about wobble wedges just for 1 minute. Also, from last week, people were commenting. And then we didn't get to it. Usually, if there is anyone commenting, usually we just go back to it at the end and see what people say if they have any questions, whatever. But when when we were first working together, and I don't know how we got on the wobble wedges. Maybe because when I go to a restaurant, it drives me friggin' nuts.
I probably went on one of my rants.
Like I feel like I'm like on a pirate ship or something. And I'm like, why? First of all, the waiter should take care. Like it shouldn't even. Nothing should be wobbling.
Correct.
I mean, maybe I should be wobbling when I'm walking out, but while I'm in there, I shouldn't be like sitting at a wobbly table.
It's like one of my number one pet peeves.
And I believe so you were telling me some genius came up with wobble wedges. Mm-hmm. It's just this little tiny device.
Yeah, it's probably like an inch wide, 2 inches long.
And it's a wedge, and it works. It's better than a matchbook. It's better than a stack of napkins. It's
coasters. What else have I seen? I've seen the weirdest things.
And you shouldn't like, I'm the dude that's like, I'll be like leaning down fixing the table. Lauren eyes will be rolling out of her head because I'm trying to get the table perfect. But I mean, they make these little simple devices called wobble wedges that'll just fix this, that any restaurant should know about and fix that stuff.
Yeah, and the servers, well-managed and trained servers, should be checking their stations before they even start, so they should know if they're, there you go, look at that, see?
Yeah,
they're
boom.
Great. They come in every color.
Yeah.
The clear
great.
is my favorite because then you can't even tell that they're there. But they should be checking their stations. If their table's wobbly, they should be fixed before the doors even open, before they even start getting their table. As a server, I used to keep them in my apron in case, because when you sit down and people get comfortable and they move things around. So if I got to a table, I would kind of always touch it because
just to
I'm
see
neurotic, and to see, and then if it was moving, I would fix it. And right then and there, it's like, oh, over 20% tip. Like, people need to think those things through. Like, and I try to train people to be that way, but you can't hold their hand the whole time. So you train them, you give them my advice, I do those things, they do it, they don't.
And that's kind of like talking to about when you go into a place. I mean, you'll go in and sit there and just order food. Right? You'll go in there and sit down and see everything. I mean, I can't help but... Have you ever seen Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze? You should watch that movie. It's a classic, first of all. I mean, he's basically like a restaurant consultant. Oh, you gotta see it. But he goes in and he I mean, I love Patrick Swayze, so I'm gonna watch the movie A, and B, it's a cinematic feat. But he goes in and he just scans the whole place, the whole bar, and you kind of do the same thing. You'll go in and just take mental note. Do you have a notepad out? Like, how do you
mental notes, and I use my phone, because if I have a notepad out, then something's up. they know something's going on.
Uh-huh.
So if you use your phone, sending text messages, it doesn't. You can't really tell what it is. The only thing I know about Roadhouse, sorry, because now I'm thinking of Peter Griffin. There's an episode where he's like Roadhouse, and he just like kicks his- There you go. That's all I know about Roadhouse.
Well, you definitely have to check it out. It's definitely a movie any restaurant consultant should reference because I think it goes over a lot of tenets. There's a little more violence than I think you would want to use when you're working with a restaurant, but it definitely touches on some key topics. Okay. Do you find that is there any things that whenever you go into a restaurant and see that they're doing that there's these basic or main things that stick out that a lot of restaurants are doing that would be like a fix or something that could save them, potentially, a lot of money? What
I notice a lot, if I go out for dinner and I'm actually trying to pay attention, like to what's going on, because I've told you before, if I need to have a conversation, if I'm going out with a friend, I need to have my back to whatever's going on around me.
Because you'll just be staring
facing it and I'm trying to talk to you, I'm not really giving you my full. You get like maybe 30% of my attention. So if I'm there to watch and discover and see what's going on, what I notice a lot is managers' presence on the floor. I think that's huge for a restaurant to have, and I think the more the manager's on the floor and involved and knows what's going on, the more the staff respects them, and the more you'll start seeing that dance happen. A lot of restaurants where a manager never comes and checks on your table. I don't even see one going on. And I'm not talking about like, oh, here's a $5 burger and leave. I'm talking like places that have $36 entrees. And you want to see that. You want to have that rapport. Like, you want to feel cool. Oh, the manager's coming and talking. I mean, that's how people feel. And
I want them coming over. I don't want them coming over too much, but I want them coming over.
Or even just making eye contact is one thing. Like with one person at a table. If you're in deep conversation, no one's going to interrupt you. But if you make eye contact and you walk by just to see how the table is, they'll stop you if they need something. If they don't, you continue on your way. But that is something that I have been seeing a lot more lately, and I'm surprised about, because at a young age, I was trained, like, floor presence is number one.
Do you think, okay, and, just to kind of wrap it up or whatever, but do you think now we're going into the season, it's getting to be that summertime, if there's any issues, obviously they should be tackled immediately, but do you think that there's a certain cutoff point, or is now the time where restaurants should really be considering the summer? Like, when does the summer rush? Is it Memorial Day weekend? Like, when does the rush start to happen around here?
I mean, you were even saying earlier, the St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
You're right. It's like something subconsciously where people think the weather's getting warmer. You'll start seeing it from then on. Yeah.
And it's definitely something at that point that if there is any issues, they should be addressed before it gets crazy.
Well, when the slow season is there, that's when you take the time to really sit down and be like, what could we have done better? What did we do great? What can we expand on? This worked for us great this month. Maybe let's try that again this day. Or those, like, during the downtime is what I'll call it, is when you should really be focusing on those things.
And this is,
it's not time for you to go, well, yes, you can go on vacation because you worked your butt off, but it's not time to like sit back and be like, well, there's nobody here. I'm bored. Like, let me play with my phone. Like, you should always be constantly coming up with new things, new ways to get people in, fix problems.
And bring in Diana Marie to help you out. I want to thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about all these wonderful things. Promise me that you'll watch Roadhouse, first of all.
I probably will today. Is it on Netflix?
I think it is either Hulu, Netflix. It's out there. If it's not, I'll get you my copy. Again, what was your Instagram?
HBIC.
That's right.
Diana Marie.
HBIC Diana Marie, by DianaMarie.com. And thank you, Ming.
Thank you, Ming.
That was fun. I love hearing about this stuff. Cool.
Thank you.
Wow.